Hey, what is up, everybody? This is your boy AJTRIP, and welcome to That's a Shoot, our weekly episodic show. We'll talk about what's going on in the world of professional wrestling. And what's going on this week is Seth Rollins and an injury he had at Crown Jewel. And it got me to thinking, does Seth Rollins need to change his style? Does his style of wrestling lead to all of the injuries that he's had with multiple knee injuries and now this time with a shoulder injury? Does he have to change his style? Let's go ahead and let's talk about it for a second. So, whatever happened, um, is that last Saturday at Crown Jewel, it was Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins for the Crown Jewel Championship. And in that match, Seth, Rollins tied Cody Rhodes to the Tree of Rome, and he went to the other corner and tried to hit a coast to coast headbutt. Actually, it wasn't usually when people do these coast to coast things, it's like it's a drop kick. It's a drop kick to the person in some form of fashion, which is basically just taking a back bump, right? You're taking a back bump while also doing something with your legs. Well, Seth Rollins went for a diving headbutt, and when he came down on his shoulder, not on his back. He came down on his shoulder, his left shoulder, to be precise. And you can see during the match that shoulder, that arm was hurting him. He was favoring it. And he finished the match. Obviously he won the match and everything like that. But and I mentioned this in my Crown Jewel rapid reaction. He had got the championship belt. He had got the ring. He was talking to Triple H, and I thought just by reading his lips, he said something about it's fucked. Um, and I surprised that maybe he was talking about his shoulder being fucked. Who knows? Well, they went on like the post game show, and he went on there and he talked about it and made a comment about it. So that it might be, a long time. So he made some. Excuse me. He made some sort of form of comment about this is gonna I think he talked about that they talked about that diving headbutt coast to coast. I think he mentioned something about its massive ramifications. Who knows? And you never know. Ever since the Roost of the Century, we're a little, I think fans and everybody else a little bit suspicious about Seth Rollins and what he does. So when you watch Raw on Monday, you could tell that there were things still wrong with it. He wasn't using his left arm as much, turning his right arm. He was doing a lot of things. There was even at one point, I don't know if it was in the opening segment or a backstage segment, when Paul touched his arm and Seth kind of snatched it away a little bit because it was still hurting. So then we have a triple threat match between Jey Uso, LA Knight, and CM Punk to find out who the #1 contender is for the World Heavyweight Championship. Nice match. CM Punk wins. He gives Jey the the go to sleep and knocks out Jay's grill. He takes the grill. I don't know if he gave it back to Jey or if he pocketed it himself, but you know. But then when CM Punk celebrating, out comes the Vision, and Groundbreaker breaks through all of it. He runs and he gives a spear to Jey Uso. I'll be honest with you, this is one of the worst ones he's done when it comes to that super speed spear. And that may be a little bit on Jay as well. Because I don't know if Jay maybe was ready for it. He knew it was coming, but he may not have been ready for it to take it properly. He wasn't Carlito who took it amazingly. Then so then they beat up, took out LA Knight, left CM Punk, and then they beat up CM Punk. Right? So the Vision was still standing tall. And you can see that Seth was holding up Bronson Reed's hand, sitting next to Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman was not raising Seth Rollins' hand. Seth Rollins' hand was down. Paul Heyman was holding up Braun Breaker's hand. So now Braun Breaker, after that, Seth Rollins started speaking, started talking and shit, going towards the ropes. Braun Breaker was heading towards the corner of the ring corner, and he was looking at this and kind of looking around, and then they got this kind of perfectly as both kind of turned around at the same time as Seth was turning back to the ring to go towards the division, and as Braun Brunson was turning back to see where the ring was, he went around and he speared Seth Rollins. And he got that, and then he told Bronson Reed, "You're either with me or you're not." Bronson Reed took Seth to the corner, gave him a tsunami, and and then Paul was like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" He was over Seth Rollins, and he said the same thing as Braun Breaker said the same thing to Paul Heyman. "You're either with me or you're not." Bronson grabbed the World Championship, and Paul Heyman grabbed both the hand of Breaker and Bronson and raised them together. You know, raised them together. And then that's how we went off the air, and it was a shock. It was a shock to me. Some people were happy, some people were not happy. So now a lot of stuff has come out about that. And the big thing is, the big reason why they did that, it was because Seth Rollins' shoulder injury, and they're worried about what it could be. You're talking about, someone was hoping that maybe it was just a broken arm. At the worst, it was a broken arm, and a broken arm, you're talking about 6 weeks to heal, and maybe a little rehab. Seth Rollins would be back by the end of the year, the beginning of the next year, right? I think even someone told Sean Ross Sapp that hell he could be back for the Saturday night's main event, John Cena Last Chance. He could be back by then if it was just a broken arm. Then there have been other reports about separated shoulder, torn rotator cuffs, things like that, and that he could be out for a long time, or maybe out several months. So now what do you do, right? So I'm gonna read something here from 411 Mania. The author is Jeremy Thomas. He posted this yesterday. Update on Seth Rollins' injury, could be out past WrestleMania. Seth Rollins is expected to get surgery on his shoulder and could be out past WrestleMania, according to a new report. As previously reported, the World Heavyweight Champion suffered an injury at WWE Crown Jewel and was written off TV on Raw. While there has been some speculation over whether Rollins' injury is legitimate to his fake injury from SummerSlam, it was noted on Wrestling Observer Radio that Rollins is going to need surgery. Dave Meltzer noted that Rollins is set to get the surgery as soon as possible, and that the injury is expected to keep him out for a while, potentially beyond WrestleMania in April. Meltzer confirmed that the injury took place during the headbutt spot. As to the World Heavyweight Champion, it was noted that an announcement will likely be made on SmackDown or Raw about the matter. Saturday night's main event is scheduled for November 1st, and Meltzer noted that they need to build to that. CM Punk has a World Heavyweight title match, and Meltzer said Punk's title slot is slated for the Peacock airing event. WWE wrote Rollins off via a turn by Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed, both whom assaulted Rollins at the end of Raw. Saturday night's main event will take place at the Delta Center in Salt Lake City, Utah. So that's the latest update. We wish Seth Rollins the best. We wish for a successful surgery and a quick recovery and everything to go well for Seth Rollins. He was doing incredible work. Some people have been upset about the vision and things like that, but they were doing the evolution stuff, and you were upset at the evolution as well. But that's what needed to happen. Evolution needed to be the biggest and baddest, faction. Because they needed to be, and I think that's what they was going for here. This needed to be the biggest and baddest faction it could be, and that's why the Bloodline still stood tall all those times. All that long time ago, right? Because it was needed to be the biggest, baddest faction that could ever be. But we now have this issue with Seth Rollins, and I'm not sure what is going to happen, what's going to happen next. But the first thing that came to my mind was that Seth Rollins needs to change his style now. Now that he has his shoulder injury, are there things now that maybe when he comes back, he needs to change about his style? And what I mean by that is some of the high flying, some of the more riskier stuff. Because this is a man who is, he is getting injured, right? He got injured doing this. He was doing that the Jinder Mahal, when he wrestled Jinder Mahal, and he hurt his knee then. He's hurt his knee before. There was some talk about, back from years ago that he was, his back was, injured. I don't know if that was storyline or not, but it was not, then that was, he's had some back issues. This is a man who's worked his ass off, for at least 15 years in professional wrestling, doing the style and doing the stuff that he has done all the time. And he just makes you want to think that at some point as you get older, because Seth Rollins I believe Seth Rollins is 38. I think that is. Quick check here. Right? Seth Rollins is 39. He's 39 years old. So, and when you take a look at, like, some of the guys, like, I googled Seth Rollins' age, but now here's what they got here: Becky Lynch, 38; CM Punk, 46; Roman Reigns, 40; Cody Rhodes, 40; John Cena, 48. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of the top stars are 38 years age or older, and there's more, right? There's more. The guy who hurt like Bronson Reed, who's supposed to be part of the division, the future, Bronson Reed is like 37, 38. He's in his late ones. Randy Orton is gotta be 40. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn have to be 40. They toiled on the indies for years, and then they come to the WWE like in 2014, 2015, and then that's been 10 years of that. So they've got to be up there. And while you have a lot of young, fresh faces, you also have a lot of older folks. So at 39 years of age, the Seth Rollins need to be doing dives, coast to coast off of the head, coast to coast headbutts off of the off of the turnbuckle. This need to be diving through, diving through the ropes. Doesn't need to be doing springboard moonsaults and springboard anything else. Does he really need to be doing these things? Could he go and do be more of a ground type of guy? I think he can. I think Seth Rollins is a tremendous worker. I think he's a tremendous wrestler. I think he's one of the best in the world. Top 10, top 15. I think he's heading he's heading on that list of being in the WWE top 10 of all time. But I also think that he's working up that he can do some ground. I don't think that needs to happen. He doesn't need to be doing coast to coast headbutts. He doesn't need to be doing dives. He doesn't need to be doing springboards. At least some of those that can, cause a lot of damage, to his body and everything like that. And I'm sure he wants to wrestle. He wants to be CM Punk. He wants to be John Cena. I'm sure what Seth Rollins wants is in 10 years him to be wrestling. I don't know. He wants to be wrestling Roman Reigns and them doing tributes to all the people that they've wrestled. And everything like that. Doing his retirement tour or whatever. It probably won't happen. I think Roman's going to retire before, then. But I can see that for Seth. But is he going to make it to that retirement tour in 10 years if he's still doing all of these more riskier moves? Everything's a risk in wrestling. Everything is risk. Everything from a body slam to an arm drag to, hell, jumping off of the ropes. Everything's a risk. But some things are just more risky, and as you get older, do you really need to be taking those risks? I don't know. The style that Seth Rollins has worked has got him to this point, where he is a figurehead of WWE, where he is a tremendous asset to this company, and where he is tremendously respected and loved by the WWE universe. And it's probably because he's done some of the things that he has, he can done. He's just wow. He's simply incredible, right? But I think he can be incredible by toning down some of the other stuff. And that's what I would like to see personally. I personally would like to see, after he comes back from this injury, to change his style a little bit. But maybe save the dives and all the super risky stuff. Like, during that match, they did a top rope crossroads, which it's also very risky doing it. But they got it done. It looked fantastic. The only problem I had was that it didn't finish the match. If you're gonna do that, that needs to finish the match. And Cody doing that, when having Seth kick out of it, that was, I thought, ridiculous. That should have been what should have been Cody Rhodes, doing that to Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. No, maybe Roman Reigns was like, and he pitched that. Roman Reigns said, "No, I ain't doing that shit, brother." that doesn't work for me, brother. Put a Hulk Hogan. But yes, I just Like, I do want Seth to be able to retire on his own terms and not have to be forced into retirement. So, um, I don't know, folks, but like I once again want to reiterate that I wish Seth Rollins all the best in his recovery and the surgery. Hope everything goes well. And really quick, let's talk just really quick about some of the stuff, about two things. One, let's talk about um, how this all now goes down, right? With the World Heavyweight Championship, CM Punk is a champion. He gets the title match at Saturday Night's Main Event on November 1st, right? Who becomes champion? You know, I've been thinking about this, and I've had a lot of things, and I think I don't just think that you should just put the title on Braun Breaker right now. I don't think that's I don't think that makes a lot of sense. I really don't. Um, just even though they're doing all of this, if they've done this and they pivoted because they feel like they're gonna need to, they don't feel like it. They do need to because of Seth Rollins' injury. I don't know if they still shouldn't hold off a little bit. Now, if 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 the plan was for like, and this isn't my idea. I think Ollie Davis from Wrestle Talk. I was watching one of the Wrestle Talk videos. I think he said something like this. So maybe how it was going to go down was it was going to be Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns for the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania. Roman Reigns would win, finally get a win over Seth Rollins. And then the next night on Raw, that's when the turn would happen with Braun Breaker. Right? That's what would happen with the turn would happen with Braun Breaker. So yeah, I mean that sounds like a reasonable plan. But now that since this has happened, how do you do this? Right? How does this go? You still go that way? How do you feel? But we know Braun Breaker is the future, and maybe the future just starts a little bit earlier. I think that Braun Breaker, I think now, without question, Braun Breaker wins the Royal Rumble. I think that has to be it. Braun Breaker wins the Royal Rumble. He puts on WrestleMania and he beats the champion, whoever that is. Now, as for who the champion will be, I think this is a perfect time to do a little hot potatoing. Do a little hot potatoing, right? We've got AJ Styles, who just had a fantastic match with John Cena at Crown Jewel. He hasn't held a World Heavyweight Championship in a couple years, and while they've had, you know, they've talked about him like being in the kind of championship now, but not with the World Heavyweight Championship hold up. He would be a good guy to hold it, right? CM Punk, right? To me, that's probably the guy, and that's probably what they are going to do. CM Punk will win it at he will win it at Saturday Night's Main Event and hold it until WrestleMania where Braun Breaker would beat him, right? Jey Uso is there. I still want Jey Uso to have a run, a real run with a World Heavyweight Championship. But I do think that it's not in the cards right now. He can still do that, and I think he can still get that in maybe a year or two. Um, there's Jimmy. Like I said, let's hot potato this thing. You know, let Jimmy win it and let him lose it to CM Punk at Saturday Night's Main Event. That could definitely happen. We're talking about LA Knight. LA Knight's about the World Heavyweight Championship. But again, if I'm gonna put the title of LA Knight, I want him to have a run with it. 3 or 4 months actually running with it, being a champion, having 3 or 4 or 5 title defenses doing in that run. That's what I want. Same thing like with Jay. There's always Roman, right? I'm not sure what necessarily the schedule that Roman has. he talked about, not seeing the boys until Christmas. I don't know that, there's always rumors about war games and everything like that, so who knows? There are other guys as well. You can bring Drew McIntyre back over to Raw. You can have Randy Orton come back to Raw, right? You can do other things. You can Finn Balor can get it. Dominic Mysterio can get it, right? Dominic Mysterio he is one of the best right now, best things going in WWE right now. The character work, the in-ring work, everything about Dominic Mysterio is on point. And having him be the World Heavyweight Champion, that makes sense. Makes sense. And it would be perfect to have him do it now, and have him run with it for a couple months, have him transition it to a guy like Jay, or a guy like Jimmy, or a guy like or LA Knight, CM Punk, and then have them transition it to Braun at WrestleMania. So there's so many things that they can do here. I am very interested to see what is going to happen with the World Heavyweight Championship. So, yeah, that's something that I cannot wait to see. Let's go ahead and let's close this thing out. Alright, guys, thank you so much for watching. That is it for this episode of That's a Shoot. Tonight's SmackDown and Monday's Raw is going to be something very interesting to see. Will we get something about the World Heavyweight Championship tonight? Or will we hear about it on Monday? I would probably think that we'll get the announcement tonight, that Adam Pearce is going to have an announcement for what to do with the world title on Monday. I think we're going to get something about that. I don't know if we're going to get any information about it tonight. I really don't. So I think that will probably happen. Was only 4 days. With 4 days, no, not counting today. We're counting days 5. 5 shows, 5 television shows. Tonight, Monday the 20th, Friday the 24th, Monday the 27th, and Friday the 31st. Before the match at the they're gonna need to do something. What I hope they don't do is do the thing where it's a triple threat match on everything. If we're gonna do a mini tournament, just do a mini tournament, right? I think it's so easy, right, to have announce two matches for Raw, and 2 matches for SmackDown, and then have the things happen on have the 2 matches on Raw, and then have the match on Friday, and then the winner meets CM Punk for the vacated title. I think it's so easy, but we'll just wait and see. Post your comments down below. Tell me what you guys think. Let me know what you guys think about everything that's going on here. Think about Seth Rollins' injury, the turn on Monday, what you see happening in the future, and the topic of this video: do you feel that Seth Rollins needs to change his style going forth as a 39-year-old man? Let me know down in the comment section. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, and as always, thank you guys so much for watching. This is your boy AJTRIP signing off. As always, be good to each other, y'all. Be careful out there. And I am out.